everyone, and welcome to Ariana's Food Adventures. This adventure we are headed to Butternut Squash Land, where we're going to make one of my favorite soups, roasted butternut squash soup. Let's get started, shall we? Alright, to begin our roasted butternut squash soup, we're going to preheat the oven to 375. Alright, so here's our beautiful butternut squash. It may seem big and intimidating, but I promise you it's super easy to cut. So we're just going to cut off the ends. And then cut the other end. And just like that, you have both ends cut off. And the nice thing is, it makes it so much sturdy when you cut them in half. And look at that, you have beautiful butternut squash cut in half. Now, before we put this on the baking sheet, we want to scoop out the seeds because we do not need that in the soup. Alright, so I just scoop out the seeds, but look how clean and perfect that looks. So we're going to place that on a baking sheet. We're going to drizzle the butternut squash in with olive oil. Just right over the top. Take a little brush and just brush that olive oil all over the butternut squash. Then season the butternut squash with some salt and pepper. Alright, and we're going to put this in the oven at 375. And this can take anywhere between 45 minutes to 1 hour. I'll see you back here in a bit. So we're going to take half a stick of butter right into the Dutch oven. And we're going to do about medium-low heat. While the butter's melting, let's get some onions chopped up, shall we? Alright, so we got our onion roughly chopped. Doesn't have to be perfect, but nice rough sized pieces. Because the nice thing is, everything in this Dutch oven is going to get pureed, so it doesn't have to be perfect sizes. Alright, throw that in. Alright, so I got one garlic clove right here. I cut that in half, throw it into the pot. And we're going to add one whole carrot that's been peeled and sliced. And then we're going to season this with some salt, pepper, and then some fresh thyme. So good. Alright, and just like that, go the opposite direction where the leaves are, and you just toss it right on in. And the nice thing about the thyme is that it adds a nice little light lemony flavor, but nice freshness to the soup as well. So I did about 2 or 3 sprigs. Like I said, just drag your finger along the back side of the herb, and there you go. Don't have to worry about chopping it up, because like I said, the soup is all going to get pureed anyways. Alright, so this last ingredient that I'm about to add to this is completely optional. If you don't have it, or if you don't want to spend the money on it, don't worry about it, you don't have to, but I am adding some saffron. Fortunately, you don't need a whole lot, just a few little strands, like that much. Add it right into the pot. Alright, so we'll let these veggies cook down and hang out. Alright, so I just pulled our butternut squash. Ooh, nice and tender. So as long as you can get a fork nice throughout it, is fork tender. Just like mashed potatoes, that's exactly what you want. So we're going to let these hang out and cool. While those are cooling, I'm going to add some chicken stock to this. Now, if you rather use vegetable stock, that's a perfectly good substitute. So dump that right in. And I have about 3 cups of chicken stock to it. And just give that a nice little stir. And to that, I'm just going to add a nice little sprinkle of salt, some black pepper. Always add a little touch of a bay leaf right on in there. Now, we will be sure to pull that bay leaf because, like I said, everything is going to get pureed, but we do not want to puree the bay leaf just because it gets very tough and you're just not able to eat it. Once that's been stirred, just let this hang out for a bit till it's boiling, and by the time it gets there, then we can add our butternut squash and the soup's just about done. Alright, so I got our butternut squash all cut up, and like I said, doesn't have to be perfect, but it's nice and cool, so we'll add it right into the pot. Give that a nice little stir. And let's go ahead and fish out our bay leaf that we're thinking about. That way we don't accidentally blend that up. Alright, so just another splash or 2 go right on in, just to give it that little creaminess. And then give that a nice lovely little stir. Alright, so I got my little handy dandy hand blender. And feel free to use a blender if you don't have one of these gadgets, but I highly recommend it just because it makes it so much easier when you're blending soups. So we're just going to turn this bad boy on. Our butternut squash is nice and blended. Feel free to strain it through a strainer if you want, just if you want like a more of a fine, smooth texture. But I love the texture of butternut squash. I love that velvety consistency, but if you don't like that, you feel free to strain it if you want to. Let's go and plate it up, shall we? Alright, just to garnish our soup, we're going to take some heavy cream. Just drizzle that right over it, just like that. And if you're very creative, feel free to do a pattern, but I am not that artistic yet. And then we're just going to take a fried sage leaf, place that right on top. And there we have it, folks. Butternut squash soup. One of my favorite and easiest soups to make during the bitter cold, freezing cold. Well, okay, not that extreme cold, but still cold nonetheless during the fall time. I hope you enjoy this adventure, and I will see you on my next one. Enjoy!